Today, 16th of September 2020, is the day of history.
Leo hii tarehe 16 Septemba mwaka 2020 ni siku ya kihistoria.
As I was asleep in the night,
Nilipokuwa nimelala usiku,
then all of a sudden I saw the visions of the Lord.
kisha ghafla bunbu nikayaona maono ya Bwana.
And then I saw from afar
Halafu nikaona kutoka mbali
the Lord Most High flying very far, too high,
Bwana aliye juu sana akipaa sana juu
like an eagle.
kama tai.
And then after that,
Halafu baada ya
he
hiyo
spoke to me about the judgment of the USA, the United States of America.
akazungumza pamoja nami kuhusu hukumu ya Marekani, majimbo ya umoja Marekani.
Then in that dream,
Halafu katika ndoto hiyo
I saw that the USA was judged,
niliona ya kwamba Marekani ilihukumiwa
the White House.
kule White House.
He spoke with me about the judgment of God
Halafu akazungumza pamoja nami kuhusu hukumu ya Mungu
that is coming to the USA, United States of America.
ambayo inakuja Marekani kwa majimbo ya umoja Marekani.
Then I pronounced it.
Halafu
Then
nikaitangaza.
all of a sudden I saw he struck America.
Halafu ghafla binvu nikamwona akagonga Marekani.
And the White House was affected.
Na ikulu ya White House likaathirika.
I have warned the United States of America.
Nimeonya majimbo ya umoja Marekani.
The Lord has instructed me to strike you with the wrath of God.
Bwana ameniagiza ni wagonge na ghadhabu ya Mungu.
Repent.
Tubuni.
I saw the great eagle. He struck the White House in the USA.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer live from New York. President Trump just tweeted moments ago that he and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus. It follows news that top aide Hope Hicks, who traveled with the president multiple times this week, had tested positive. This includes aboard Marine One, the presidential helicopter, and on Air Force One to a rally in Minnesota Wednesday, and then aboard Air Force One to Tuesday night's first presidential debate in Cleveland. Hicks is said to be quarantining at home and is reportedly experiencing symptoms.
The news came in a late-night tweet from the White House. President Donald Trump wrote, "Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together." It is not known how, despite elaborate precautions and constant testing of White House officials, the White House press corps, and others in contact with Trump, the president contracted the virus. But earlier, one of Trump's top aides, Hope Hicks, was confirmed to have tested positive. Hicks accompanied the president to the debate in Cleveland, Ohio on Tuesday. Trump phoned into a Fox television program earlier on Thursday and talked about Hicks having been exposed.
It's a tough kind of a situation. It's a terrible thing. So I just went for a test, and we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows?
The White House physician, Sean Conley, said Trump and the First Lady are both well at this time and that the White House medical team will maintain a vigilant watch.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed by President Trump. He has tweeted to say that he and his wife have tested positive for coronavirus. This just in the last 10 minutes. US President Donald Trump and the First Lady saying, we will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately.
Yeah, he was referring to last night, the tweet came through, or just a few hours ago, Hope Hicks, who's one of his colleagues, he said had been working so hard without even taking a small break, and he had tested positive, terrible, and that's when he said he was waiting for the test results for him and his wife, and then beginning their quarantine.
This is the tweet that has generated international news headlines across the globe. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, taking to Twitter to say that he and the First Lady, Melania Trump, had tested positive for COVID-19, saying that they will begin their recovery and quarantine process immediately. A message to people on social media. Well, more details about their health conditions were detailed in a letter that was released by Trump's physician, Sean Conley. I want to draw attention to a few words on this here. He said that the President and First Lady, again, are both well at this time. They plan to remain at home within the White House during their convalescence, where they will be monitored by senior medical teams.
This is CNN Breaking News.
The President of the United States now confirming to the world that he and the First Lady of the United States have both tested positive for the coronavirus, and they will quarantine. The president tweeting out just moments ago here in the United States, 12:54 a.m., said, "Tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together." Again, the President of the United States confirming via Twitter that he is now tested positive for COVID-19, and the First Lady as well.
Knowing that the president is sick and that the pandemic is affecting personnel in the White House, this may be the most dangerous moment that the U.S. government has ever faced. The president is suffering from a deadly virus. This feels like something we should be watching on an episode of Homeland.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Brian Williams.
States has tested positive for the coronavirus after a top aide of his tested positive herself. This also applies to the First Lady, Melania Trump. We heard the news about Hope Hicks, longtime aide to this president and this West Wing, testing positive herself and showing at least mild symptoms already of the coronavirus. But the big story tonight was when the president said that he and the First Lady were going to begin the quarantine process.
U.S. President Donald Trump has tested positive for the Wuhan virus. The man who downplayed the threat of the virus, the man who refused to wear a mask, called the disease just another flu, is now infected with the very same virus. Donald Trump is in self-quarantine 31 days before the U.S. presidential election, which raises many questions.
Good afternoon and welcome. Let's take a look at the big story we are tracking. After Trump was taken to hospital, there is reason for concern as the president had trouble breathing after testing positive for COVID-19. As per the reports, the situation is serious and that Trump is very tired, very fatigued, while the White House doctor says that the president also received a first dose of remdesivir.
The White House is now furiously trying to stop the virus's spread, racing to identify a constellation of contacts who recently interacted with President Trump, the First Lady, or confidant Hope Hicks. The president's chief of staff with this acknowledgement.
I fully expect that as this virus continues to go on, other people in the White House will certainly have a positive test result.
Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien announcing overnight that he too is infected. All four traveling together aboard Air Force One Tuesday night, with an entourage of aides, allies, and family members flying to the debate site in Cleveland.
President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
This is major breaking news that really impacts the continuity of the American government.
It's an extraordinary development because it puts the president's health at risk. We're only about 4 weeks and some change away from the election, of course, on November 3rd.
The president announced it on Twitter. Just before 1 a.m. Eastern. They'll begin their quarantine and recovery process immediately.
And we're learning that other members of the White House may have gotten the infection as well. Hope Hicks, a counselor to the president, one of the most senior White House officials, and someone who spends an awful lot of time in close proximity to the president.
And the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee.
And the chief of staff at the White House, Mark Meadows, telling reporters on Friday that he fully anticipates there to be additional positive results from other members of the staff or other people who came into close contact with either Hicks or the president.
He has mild symptoms. As we look at that, the doctor will continue to provide expertise.
Breaking news, and in the last few minutes, President Trump has tweeted saying that he and the First Lady have tested positive for COVID-19.
I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Well, first off, U.S. stock futures extended their losses today after President Donald Trump said he and his wife had tested positive for COVID-19.
Returning now to the US, where Donald Trump and wife Melania are in quarantine after testing positive to coronavirus.
Breaking news. The President and First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed by President Trump. He has tweeted to say that he and his wife have tested positive for coronavirus.
The Lord is seeking the attention of the nations,
Bwana anatafuta umakinifu wa mataifa
together with their leaders,
pamoja na viongozi wao,
and is asking for repentance.
naye anauliza toba,
They're turning away from sin.
kugeuka kutoka kwa dhambi.
Look at the church in the United States of America, how rotten it is.
Tazama kanisa katika majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani jinsi ambavyo limeoza.
Totally apostate.
Limeanguka kabisa katika imani.
There is no visitation of God.
Hakuna mtembeleo wa Mungu.
And they are all locked in there. They are not aware that that situation spells doom.
Na wote wamejifungia ndani mle, hawajui ya kwamba hiyo hali inaleta ghadhabu.
They have locked everybody in there. They are headed to hell with them. They are not allowing them to enter heaven.
Wamefungia kila mtu mle ndani, wanawaruhusu kwenda jehanamu, bali hawataki mtu yeyote aende mbinguni.
They have commercialized the gospel.
Wamefanya ya kibiashara.
Sexual sin is normal.
Usharati ni kawaida.
The worldliness has entered the church.
Dunia imeingia katika kanisa.
Lies and false apostles, false prophets writing books
Uongo na manabii wa uongo, mitume wa uongo wakiandika vitabu.
and harvesting money.
Na kuvuna pesa.
But one day it will come to an end.
Lakini siku moja itafika mwisho.
One day you realize that that money cannot enter heaven.
Siku moja mtagundua ya kwamba hiyo pesa haiwezi kuingia mbinguni.
One day in the United States of America, you will realize that money can never purchase eternity for you.
Siku moja katika majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani, mtagundua ya kwamba kamwe pesa haiwezi kuwanunulia umilele.
I have warned the United States of America.
Nimeonya majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani.
Repent.
Tubuni.
Repent and turn away from sin.
Tubuni mkageuke kutoka kwa dhambi.
Receive Christ Jesus as Lord
Mpokeeni Kristo Yesu kama Bwana
and Savior.
na Mwokozi.
And today, 16th of September 2020, is the day of history.
Leo hii tarehe 16 Septemba mwaka 2020 ni siku ya kihistoria.
As I was asleep in the night,
Nilipokuwa nimelala usiku,
then all of a sudden I saw the visions of the Lord.
kisha ghafla bunbuni nikayaona maono ya Bwana.
And then I saw from afar
Halafu nikaona kutoka mbali
the Lord Most High flying very far, too high,
Bwana aliye juu sana akipaa sana juu
like an eagle.
kama tai.
And then after that,
Halafu baada ya
he
hiyo
spoke to me about the judgment of the USA, the United States of America.
akazungumza pamoja nami kuhusu hukumu ya Marekani, majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani.
Then in that dream,
Halafu katika ndoto hiyo
I saw that the USA was judged.
niliona ya kwamba Marekani ilihukumiwa
The White House.
kule White House.
Spoke with me about the judgment of God
Halafu akazungumza pamoja nami kuhusu hukumu ya Mungu
that is coming to the USA, United States of America.
ambayo inakuja Marekani kwa majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani.
Then I pronounced it.
Halafu nikaitangaza.
Then all of a sudden I saw he struck America.
Halafu ghafla binvu nikamwona akagonga Marekani.
And the White House was affected.
Na ikulu ya White House likaathirika.
I have warned the United States of America.
Nimeonya majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani.
The Lord has instructed me to strike you with the wrath of God.
Bwana ameniagiza ni wagonge na ghadhabu ya Mungu.
Repent.
Tubuni.
I saw the great eagle. He struck the White House in the USA.
The news stunned America. President Trump being airlifted to Walter Reed Medical Center.
We have breaking news just coming in. President Trump will be taken to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for treatment tonight.
We're getting some major, very disturbing breaking news right now that the president will be heading over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for treatment.
The heart-pounding drama unfolded behind closed doors Thursday after the president's close aide, Hope Hicks, tested positive. But it was kept under wraps as Trump continued with his public schedule.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will join us.
At 9:50 last night, he spoke by phone with Fox News host Sean Hannity about his ailing aide.
She did test positive. She's a hard worker, a lot of masks. She wears masks a lot, but she tested positive. And I just went out with a test. I'll see what, because we spent a lot of time, and the First Lady just went out with a test also. So whether we quarantine or whether we have it, I don't know.
Shortly before 1 a.m., Trump confirmed he had it.
This has got to be President Trump's worst nightmare.
Julia, while you were speaking there, we can just see the helicopter Marine One lifting up off the south lawn of the White House. President Trump being transferred tonight to the Walter Reed Military Medical Center. The White House has said this is out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of his physician and medical experts. And they say that the president will be working from the presidential offices at Walter Reed for the next few days.
NBC News World Headquarters in New York. This is NBC Nightly News.
Here's the video playback of what we just missed. As predicted, the president giving a thumbs up to the cameras with a mask, walking by himself as he is now an active coronavirus patient. There's Mark Meadows. Salute from the Marine officer at the base of the stairs. President usually stops to greet the pilot and first officer. Military aide carrying the briefcase of nuclear codes because where he goes, so must they. There, the vertical lift. It will make a pivot now, head out toward the ellipse. Let us just watch these pictures play out on board. Something we could not have dreamt about saying just 48 hours ago. President of the United States, having tested positive for coronavirus, having become symptomatic overnight apparently. Look at the broad lift of those rotors, all under the watchful eye of the counter-assault team on the roof of the White House. Helicopter rotors move individually to pitch themselves to lift up in the air. Captain is on the right-hand side of the cockpit as you're looking at it, first officer on the left. There is the other end of the journey. That is the landing zone at Walter Reed to the medical center, and the president's disembarking.
Dressed in a suit and wearing a mask, President Trump walked to Marine One unassisted. He arrived at the Walter Reed helipad and once again walked unassisted to a waiting car. On his way to a special suite in the hospital,
U.S. President Donald Trump, having tested positive for COVID-19, has been admitted to a military hospital where he's being treated with a number of over-the-counter drugs as well as remdesivir.
A memo late Friday from the White House physician Sean Conley said President Trump is doing very well and is being treated with remdesivir, an antiviral drug approved by the U.S. FDA for severe cases of COVID-19. The doctor said President Trump is resting comfortably after taking his first dose and is not in need of supplemental oxygen. His treatment also involves an experimental antibody cocktail for COVID-19 developed by Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. President Trump had been transferred to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland several hours earlier. Soon after arriving, he tweeted a video message.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will.
President Trump showed no outward signs of illness in front of the camera, but a number of reports say he has a low-grade fever, a cough, and other mild symptoms. There have been concerns that the virus could have infected some other key figures in American politics. It was after...
This is CNN Breaking News.
Speaking of that video that the president just posted about 4 minutes on Twitter, let me play it for our viewers.
I want to begin by thanking all of the incredible medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, everybody at Walter Reed Medical Center. I think it's the finest in the world for the incredible job they've been doing. I came here, wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back. I have to be back, and I'll be back. I think I'll be back soon. And I look forward to finishing up the campaign the way it was started and the way we've been doing. But this was something that happened, and it's happened to millions of people all over the world. We're going to beat this coronavirus. So many things have happened. If you look at the therapeutics, which I'm taking right now, some of them. So I just want to tell you that I'm starting to feel good. You don't know over the next period of a few days. I guess that's the real test. So we'll be seeing what happens over those next couple of days. I just want to be so thankful for all of the support I've seen, whether it's on television or reading about it. I also want to thank the leaders of the world for their condolences, and they know what we're going through. They know what, as your leader, what I have to go through. But I had no choice, because I just didn't want to stay in the White House. I was given that alternative. Stay in the White House, lock yourself in, don't ever leave, don't even go to the Oval Office. Just stay upstairs and enjoy it. Don't see people, don't talk to people, and just be done with it. And I can't do that. I had to be out front, and this is America. This is the United States. This is the greatest country in the world. This is the most powerful country in the world. I can't be locked up in a room upstairs and totally safe and just say, hey, whatever happens, happens. I can't do that. Again, over the next few days, we're going to probably know for sure. Thank you very much.
You were there when the president walked out of the White House and boarded Marine One. Yeah, and I know you have some new reporting on his condition.
Yeah, Anderson, I talked to a Trump campaign advisor just a short while ago who said that this is serious, that the president has been having some trouble breathing, that he's been very fatigued today, very tired, and emphasized that this is not just a run-of-the-mill trip up to Walter Reed, that this is a serious situation. Talked to another source familiar with the situation this evening who said that there are serious concerns among White House staffers about the president's condition. Now, we should add to all of that, Anderson, that White House officials continue to maintain that the president is just experiencing mild symptoms from the coronavirus, has a fever, and they expect him to pull through just fine. But to have the president of the United States transported via Marine One to Walter Reed, where he's going to be staying there for the next few days, according to White House officials, and working out of the White House, according to those White House officials, that indicates that this is perhaps more than just a mild case of the coronavirus. And, the Trump advisor I spoke to earlier this evening emphasized that this is a serious situation for the president at this point, Anderson. I would tell you, I talked to a separate White House official this evening who said that the president's symptoms are more serious, more concerning than those of the First Lady at this point. And that's part of the reason why he had to go to Walter Reed. And so, we don't want to, overstate the situation. But to some extent, Anderson, what we've been hearing from the White House all day long and White House officials all day long is sort of, nothing to see here, please disperse. When in fact, it sounds as though, talking to our sources, that the president's conditions have worsened throughout the day and that this has caused some alarm inside the West Wing, that they were concerned enough that this decision was made to get the president up to Walter Reed. And I think if he's going to be up there for a few days, we'll have to go back and you said you'll have some folks on who will be talking about this from a historical standpoint. When is the last time we had a president of the United States at Walter Reed for that kind of period of time? That indicates to me that this is serious.
See Marine One escorted by another Marine helicopter making their way over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. Should be there fairly soon. We are told, Jeremy, that when the president walked out of the residence on the south lawn of the White House, he was wearing a mask. He was wearing a suit. He waved to the news media who were stationed there, but he did not stop to talk. Video. Here's the video of the president walking out. Let's watch.
Can you tell us about how you're doing right now? How long
All right, that's the video. So we saw the president walking out. We saw Mark Meadows. They were wearing masks. Others carrying some, I assume, equipment. I don't know what kind of equipment it was, but you saw them walking out with masks as well, boarding Marine One to make this flight. The helicopter still in the air over Washington, D.C., making its way to suburban Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C.
He just seemed to be moving a little slower than we're usually seeing him.
We are taking you now live to Walter Reed Medical Center, where President Trump's physician is giving an update on his condition. Let's listen.
Thursday, he had a mild cough and some nasal congestion and fatigue. As reported yesterday, consultation with this group, I recommended we bring the president up to Walter Reed to provide state-of-the-art monitoring and any care that he may need. Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now, the first week of COVID, and in particular days 7 to 10, are the most critical in determining the likely course of this illness.
About 48 hours ago, the president received a special antibody therapy directed against the coronavirus, and we're working very closely with the company to monitor him. Yesterday evening, he received his first dose of IV remdesivir, and our plan is to continue a 5-day treatment course for remdesivir.
With a known course of the illness, days 7 to 10, we get really concerned about the inflammatory phase 2. It's hard to tell where he is on that course, and so every day we're evaluating. But he did have a fever Thursday into Friday. He had a little cough, he had the fever. More than anything, he's felt run down.
Kristen Fisher's live outside of the hospital there in Bethesda, Maryland. Kristen, a lot to take in and an update from the doctors as well.
Yes, Sandra. Well, over the last few hours, there's been a great deal of confusion over how exactly President Trump is doing. It started with that briefing earlier today from the president's doctor and his medical team here at Walter Reed. But then we got this statement from a senior administration official, somebody very close to President Trump, who said something not totally opposite, but very close. It made it sound that President Trump was in a much more serious state than the doctors led us to believe during that briefing. A little bit more detail as to how we got to this point. According to this senior administration official, President Trump was showing troubling signs of a possible progression from mild to a more severe case of COVID-19. That's when medical professionals took quick action to aggressively intervene. They made that decision to bring President Trump here out of an abundance of caution.
And welcome to Today, and thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday morning. Peter, it's good to be with you after an extraordinary several days here in Washington. The country and the world really still processing the fact that the president's at Walter Reed.
Yeah, the headlines over the course of the last 24 hours now, I think, have been so jarring for so many Americans. The scene there at the White House, at times inside the West Wing, where I was able to go, was really a surreal one.
The president's admission to the hospital is our top story this morning. We do want to get you caught up on the latest headlines.
President Trump, we learned late yesterday, also was given his first dose of the experimental antiviral treatment, remdesivir. And overnight, several people close to the president announced that they have now tested positive. Among them, the president's campaign manager, Bill Stepien, his former top advisor, Kellyanne Conway, and Republican Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, who, like Conway, was in the White House Rose Garden last Saturday for the announcement of the president's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett.
A short, familiar distance to Marine One that was anything but ordinary. Wearing a mask and leaving the White House to become the world's most watched COVID patient. Friday evening, Marine One landed at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where the president will be a patient.
Then I saw from afar the Lord Most High flying very far, too high, like an eagle. And then after that, he spoke to me about the judgment of the USA, the United States of America. Then in that dream, I saw that the USA was judged. The White House.
I saw the great eagle. He struck the White House in the USA.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. We begin with the breaking news, the unprecedented health crisis unfolding at this hour in America's highest office.
President Trump, a short time ago, flown to Walter Reed Hospital after both he and the First Lady tested positive for the coronavirus. That bombshell dropping just 32 days before the election and days after the president shared a debate stage with Joe Biden, who has now tested negative. We're covering all angles of this rapidly developing story. Hallie Jackson starting us off tonight from the White House. Hallie, what's the latest?
Lester, as we come on the air, President Trump right now is inside a military hospital, just about a 10-minute helicopter ride from here. It is an extraordinary development after a day full of them. The president, I'm told by a senior administration official, will be working out of a suite there for the next several days as a precautionary measure. It is precautionary, perhaps, but it is also historic after the president's diagnosis sent shockwaves through this country.
President Trump late tonight boarding Marine One for an unannounced trip to Walter Reed Medical Center, where the White House says he'll be working the next few days after testing positive for the coronavirus. He's fighting fatigue and a low-grade fever, according to sources familiar with his condition, after he and the First Lady both tested positive, triggering one of the most serious health crises for a U.S. president in decades. Top aides rushing to reassure Americans.
They remain in good spirits as we look to try to make sure that not only his health and safety and welfare is good, we continue to look at that for all of the American people.
The White House physician says the president received an infusion of Regeneron's antibody cocktail, an experimental drug intended to boost the body's immune response. The First Lady has a mild cough and headache. It's not clear how the president contracted the coronavirus or how long before today he may have been contagious. Here's what we do know. On Saturday, the president hosted an event to reveal his Supreme Court nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. She tested negative for COVID today, but at least 2 other people in the Rose Garden tested positive. On Tuesday, the president traveled to the Cleveland debate, surrounded by friends and advisors, including top aide Hope Hicks. That night, 90 minutes head-to-head with Joe Biden. On Wednesday, Hicks showed symptoms, and on Thursday, she tested positive. White House officials say they learned about it as Marine One lifted off from the South Lawn on the way to a New Jersey fundraiser. The president boarded his plane anyway and flew to Bedminster.
White House operations made the assessment it was safe for the president in consultation with others.
That night, he confirmed to Fox News he'd been tested.
So I just went for a test, and we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows?
And just before 1 this morning, he tweeted about those positive test results, saying we will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. That set off a ripple effect with potential impacts on national security, domestic policy, and the 2020 campaign. For him, it's on hold, with all events virtual or postponed for now. The next debate in question, and a call he was supposed to lead today on COVID support for seniors, handled instead by the vice president. Now becoming one of the 7.3 million Americans battling the virus he's downplayed for months.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. The end of the pandemic is in sight.
News of President Trump's diagnosis spread quickly around the world. Many people woke up to the headline that America's leader has contracted the coronavirus. Foreign leaders have been sending President Trump well wishes.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson wished the President and the First Lady best wishes for a speedy recovery, as you pointed out. Russian President Vladimir Putin sent a direct message to the President. This was released by the Kremlin. And the director of the World Health Organization started his briefing today, wishing well for the couples.
An intense effort is underway to identify those who had contact with the President, First Lady, or Hope Hicks.
The White House tonight furiously trying to stop the virus's spread, racing to identify a constellation of contacts who recently interacted with President Trump, the First Lady, or confidant Hope Hicks. The president's chief of staff with this acknowledgement.
I fully expect that as this virus continues to go on, other people in the White House will certainly have a positive test result.
The three traveling together aboard Air Force One Tuesday night with an entourage of aides, allies, and family members flying to the debate site in Cleveland. Still, the web could be wide, including Secret Service agents, flight crew members, and White House staffers, as well as outside advisors like Chris Christie, who helped prepare the president for his debate. Contact tracers are now reviewing a series of recent events.
Breaking news. The president and First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to today. It's Friday morning. There is so much going on. It's a lot to wake up to. It's extraordinary. The president and first lady have announced that they have both tested positive for the coronavirus.
Concerns for the president's health and the impact on the country, on the economy, and also on the campaign.
In an extraordinary and stunning announcement overnight, President Trump delivering his own diagnosis on Twitter. Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. Still, the announcement throwing the future of the country's leadership into uncertainty.
Very tough news for the president, the first lady, the president's family, and of course the nation itself here, as the president is tested positive for the coronavirus, the first lady as well.
The Lord is seeking the attention of the nations, together with their leaders, and is asking for repentance. They're turning away from sin. Look at the church in the United States of America, how rotten it is. Totally apostate. There is no visitation of God. And they are all locked in there. They are not aware that that situation spells doom.
Na wote wamejifungia ndani mle, hawajui ya kwamba hiyo hali inaleta ghadhabu.
They have locked everybody in there. They are headed to hell with them. They are not allowing them to enter heaven.
Wamefungia kila mtu mle ndani, wanawaruhusu kwenda jehanamu, bali hawataki mtu yeyote aende mbinguni.
They have commercialized the gospel.
Wamefanya ya kibiashara.
Sexual sin is normal.
Usharati ni kawaida.
The worldliness has entered the church.
Dunia imeingia katika kanisa.
Lies and false apostles, false prophets writing books.
Uongo na manabii wa uongo, mitume wa uongo wakiandika vitabu.
And harvesting money.
Na kuvuna pesa.
But one day it will come to an end.
Lakini siku moja itafika mwisho.
One day you realize that money cannot enter heaven.
Siku moja mtagundua ya kwamba hiyo pesa haiwezi kuingia mbinguni.
One day in the United States of America, you will realize that money can never purchase eternity for you.
Siku moja katika majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani, mtagundua ya kwamba kamwe pesa haiwezi kuwanunulia umilele.
I have warned the United States of America.
Nimeonya majimbo ya Umoja wa Marekani.
Repent.
Tubuni.
Repent and turn away from sin.
Tubuni mkageuke kutoka kwa dhambi.
Receive Christ Jesus as Lord.
Mpokeeni Kristo Yesu kama Bwana
and Savior.
Na Mwokozi.